Hello, guys, and welcome to Arsenal TV. If you saw the last podcast show, we didn't actually have a name for it, but we have. It's called the Gooner Pod, or the Gooner Podcast, if you want. Now, I'm joined by three guests tonight. First off, I'm joined by James, all the way from the Netherlands. How you doing, mate?
I'm fine. How are you? How is everybody?
Yeah, absolutely fine. I'm also joined by a brother from another mother, Colin. How you doing, mate?
I'm not bad, bro. Not bad. Arsenal doing well, even though Man United were a bunch of pricks last night. 20 games unbeaten. What more can we ask for?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm also joined by Cannon for the TV himself, Alex. How you doing, mate?
Pretty good, mate. Pretty good. Yeah, a little bit downcast, after the result against Man U. But again, as Colin says, we are 20 games unbeaten in all competitions. So, yeah.
All right. So first, guys, we're going to go into the reviews of each and every person. I'm going to start off. Do you know what, guys? The Man United game for me was kind of a bit of a letdown in a way, because I actually feel that we could have killed that game off. And I feel that we should have deserved it to win, because we was all over Man United in that second half. I think the only kind of spell that Man United had on the counter-attack was probably about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes of the game, last 5-10 minutes, even though we got a goal, but it was offside to make it 3-2. And that was the scoreline I predicted, but that kind of went out the window. I thought the referee was completely... there's really nothing you can say about the referee apart from he's the one that should have had the man of the match, because he literally just went all over the place. But the main thing is we're 20 games unbeaten in all competitions, so I'm very, very happy with that. Taking 4 points, 3 points from Spurs and a point from Man United, you can't really go wrong with that. I'm actually quite happy with that. And now, in the next couple of games, we've got quite easy games, so we should get some more points above the table. So now, I'm going to start off with Alex. What did you make of yesterday's game?
Yeah, Richard, just before I get into it, there are no easy games in the Premiership.
Yeah,
that's very true. There isn't.
Right on, Alex.
Let's not take anything for granted. There are no easy games.
Yeah.
So we're unbeaten, but there are no easy games. But anyhow, you know what? For me, one thing that kind of stood out for me was how important Xhaka is in the midfield, because I just felt there's certain points or periods in the game where we didn't have anyone controlling the midfield. Listen, I know Torreira, he probably woke up the next morning with so many bruises, aches and pains. But it just goes to show how Xhaka is very important to the setup in Arsenal. I know Guendouzi did a fantastic job there under the circumstances, even had his hair pulled as well. But it just goes to show how, Xhaka is very, very important. I think I did my video yesterday, and after the dust has now settled, I just kind of realized that 2 games in 2 big games in 3 days took its toll. The guys did their best out there, and look, we went away with a point. I can't really argue with that, really, under the circumstances. I know we haven't beaten them since 2006. James, is that correct?
That is correct, 2006.
Yeah, so under the circumstances, you know what? 4 points from 2 big games. I can't really complain. I can't complain.
Yeah, even for myself, I do feel that obviously the game against Tottenham, it really did take a toll on us. And as you said about Granit Xhaka, I think we missed him because the way he controls that midfield. I know he's been criticised in the past by fans, but I think he's actually standing up by his price tag now and why we got him.
But I've always been a fan of his, even though he does make silly mistakes. But again, it's clear, the guy is really important to the machinery in Arsenal. So,
yeah, I completely agree. Colin, I'm now going to come to you, brother. What do you reckon of the game last night?
Do you know what? Looking back on it, because after the game, I might not be doing reviews anymore, but if I did a review after that game, my emotions would be all over the place. And I wouldn't be able to do one that's competent and that's level-headed, okay? The referee was a cunt, but But I do agree with Alex that, look, 4 points out of 6 from Tottenham and Man United. Considering we lost to Man United twice last season, it ain't that bad. You know? Like, because I remember at one point last season, around about the same time actually, where we lost to Man United 3-1 at home. Do you guys remember that game?
Yeah, I remember that game.
And how fucking annoying it was? I could take that loss slightly more because, well, slightly more than the draw yesterday, because I'd accepted that we were shit and that Man United were the better side on that day. Last night's game was hard to take for a few reasons. One, I felt we were the better side throughout, not just the second half. Two, Herrera's goal was offside. Rojo should have been sent off, and the referee was giving out yellow cards like they were fucking sweets.
I completely agree with that.
Right? And to what, in the first half especially, right? And again, this goes back to the referee. He lost complete control of the game. Complete control. As a referee, you're meant to maintain composure. You're meant to have authority with every single player on the pitch. Did Marino look like that last night? No. No, not even a little bit. He lost complete control. And besides that, Torreira's goal. I'll ask you guys this. What was wrong with that goal?
Are you on about Lacazette's goal?
No. Lacazette's goal was Lacazette where Rojo hit him in the shin. Yeah. That was, nothing was wrong with that at all. So if the ref disallowed that, I'd have gone off on one. But Torreira's goal
has. FA has.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Do you know what, right? Torreira's goal towards the end, right? When it's 2-2. Someone tell me how that is not a goal. Because I've watched it back still and I still don't get it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Bottom line, we were robbed last night. Robbed. Do I blame the players and the manager for that? No. Do I have concerns about our defense, especially the way we conceded their second equalizer? Yes. But I put more blame towards, well, Leno for the first goal, because he's been accountable for a few mistakes in the Spurs game and last night's game. And it just shows that he's not quite ready to be that number one just yet. I hope that he can be.
Colin, can I ask you a question? Why do you blame Leno for the first goal? Why do you blame him for the first goal?
Well, not entirely. Okay, I've kind of worded that wrong. But as a collective, right? I blame the defense for not tracking Martial. Okay? That's the first thing, okay? Now, I have a very high standard for goalkeepers, right? And I know Leno's not at that level yet. I understand that. But you have to understand, when we're talking Arsenal goalkeepers here, I'm measuring them against Seaman, Layman. And I know I know that might seem unfair, but when you look through the years, and I'm not counting Ospina and I'm not counting Szczesny in this, all right? We've had very good goalkeepers throughout the years. And every goalkeeper that comes into the club has to either live up to that or they're deemed not good enough by the fan base. Now, I'm not stupid enough to think that a goalkeeper like Seaman or Layman's going to walk through the door and it'll just be fixed like that. I know we're in transition. I know that. However, Leno, I've not gone off him. I will say that I've not gone off him, right? But he needs to cut these mistakes out of his game, because against Spurs, he let a goal in by his near post, which is something we would have crucified Czech for. So you kind of have to go in. You have to like take it into perspective with that. If you crucify Czech for letting a goal in at his near post, you crucify Leno for the exact same thing. You don't give one the riot act, and you don't give one preferential treatment. You give them both the same, right? And secondly, while I do blame the defense or the team in general for the lapse in concentration on how quickly we conceded Man United's second goal, as a goalkeeper, I'm of the opinion you have to be alert at all times, whether that means the defense has gone walkabouts or not. Right? Now, don't blame Leno for so much for that, because the players that are out there on the field, right, should have enough common sense about them to think, we've just scored here. You're at your weakest when you're at your strongest. Let's bring this back a few bits, yeah? So, for me, the defense and the midfield are more to blame for the second goal that Leno is. But, like I said, this is not me going in on the players. This is not me going in on the manager. It's just a few things that I've noticed during games from week to week, all right? As far as the game as a whole, like I said, we're 20 games unbeaten. That's a game we would have lost last year. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. In fact, we did twice, you know? And people have to get this through their head, right? And I say this especially especially if we lose one game, right? Just one game. I know we're on a 20-game unbeaten run, but you know exactly what's going to happen as soon as we lose a game. People are going to go into meltdown. They'll be like, oh, fuck this. The team ain't good enough. Oh, fuck this. The manager ain't good enough. That's going to happen when we lose a game. What I would say to that is, keep in mind we're in transition, right? Look at the mess that Arsene Wenger left Emery. You know? And when you look at Emery as a coach, right? Kolasinac, right? Did he have a bad game? No. Was he at fault for one of the goals? Yes. But instead of crucifying him, what does Emery do? He goes into and he said this in his post-match interview, by the way. He goes into the dressing room. Kolasinac has got his head down. And Emery is like, don't worry, you had a good game. Just learn from your mistakes. That's what a good manager does. Encourages the players and says to them, you know what? You did fuck up a little bit, but you've done well this year. Just learn from that in future, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Overall, I'm happy with how the team is playing. I am. And I'm happy with the manager we've got as well. Because when Emery talks, right, it's impossible for anyone to not like this guy. Seriously. It's impossible. Like, his smile is infectious, man. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way, right? But to me, right, and please, before someone misquotes me here, this guy is the Santi Cazorla of management, right? They look almost alike, the pair of them. Like,
and you almost sound alike as well.
Exactly. Maybe that's got something to do with the fact that they're like from the same country or whatnot. I don't know, but either way, I like Emery. I really do. I'm happy with him. I was underwhelmed with his appointment at first, but since he's come into the club and time's gone on, he's actually won me over. And you know what? I was open to his appointment and how it would go when he first came into the club. And I'm happy that he's proven many people wrong. And by the way, the press need to stop clinging on to shit, just to have a go at him as well.
Yeah. All right, James, I'm going to come to you, mate. Do you agree with what Colin has been saying, or what's your view on the whole game?
My view on the game is first and foremost how resolute Arsenal looked. We all know how difficult things were away from home last season, going away to lesser sides away from home and being played off the park. And now we're going to one of the biggest arenas in English football. And we didn't look out of place. We didn't look as if we were struggling. We looked as if we was up for the fight. For me, the only disappointing thing about last night was the manner upon which we conceded the equaliser. I'm not disappointed with the result in general. I'm not disappointed with the performance. It's just the manner upon which that goal was conceded. To score a goal and then concede after 13 seconds is a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. I wonder, defensive work and defensive ability. A defence is always collective, working together. I wonder what language they use to communicate for someone from Bosnia, Spain, Greece and Germany. I really do wonder, because the simple things, like for example, I saw just to give an example, I saw Socrates misjudge a ball, lost out to the ball, and Manchester United carried on to attack, and then all of a sudden just puts his hand up to indicate that the wing is coming up on the inside is offside when it's not offside. To do the simple things well, we're on a fantastic run. Everybody should be pleased. This is night and day in comparison to last season. I mean, who would have said when Emery was appointed that we would go on early on in his reign to have an unbeaten stretch of 20 games, including European football. So we can be pleased with last night. We can be pleased with a good week. And I still believe that the best is yet to come, but we just have to take it one game at a time. But with the defence, I really do think now I think Emery's got a big decision to make, because there's work to be done on that defence, and you wonder going forward how to make that defence stronger and more robust. And I know people talk about the physicality of defenders, but communication is key. Like in any job in the world, whether you work at Sainsbury's, whether you work at a university, whether you're a postman, in any job, communication is key. If you do not understand your colleague, then you got a bit of a problem. And the same goes for professional footballers as well. Obviously, it's a global game now. We're all aware of that. But the simple things in communication can be key. I mean, I keep going back to it, but you look at that defence of Atletico that has been drilled by Simeone. That defence is not made up of players that were before they came together as a unit were all individually world class. They all were well known. They were all had good careers, but they've been moulded together as a unit, and they're one of the world's best now. Why? Because they're all individually very good, and they all speak the same language. And it might sound trivial, but I believe it's a vital cog and a vital part to the success of Atletico. And I hope that Arsenal going forward, I know people talk about the physicality of players and we can buy him and this kind of thing, but the communication in the back line has got to be better. I mean, I wouldn't imagine that an Atletico or even a Juventus would score and then concede 13 seconds later. So I can understand people wanting Arsenal to buy these players and buy that players. We got to identify players going forward. But from my point of view, the communication aspect of a defence cannot be underestimated in any way, shape or form.
James,
okay, James.
Richard, before you continue, the comparison that James makes there with the Atletico defence there, it didn't happen overnight. And
No.
there's a saying that before things can be good, it has to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Not Emery, he has his work cut out there with the defence. And I couldn't believe it when Lacazette scored the goal. There was an interval there because he was injured, and they were showing his goal. And before I knew it, they'd gone down the other end and scored the goal. It was unbelievable. So what I'm trying to say is that they're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Emery will try and get the defence together as a group with the goalkeeper, because I think Leno does need to be more confident in clearing the ball out and communicating to his back four. But again, it's going to take time. It will take time. But again, things have to be wrong before they can be put right.
Yeah, I completely agree. I am going to ask you guys one thing. In January, what area do you think that Emery needs to bring in to make us more stable?
How much money does he have? How much money is he going to be given to dip into the transfer window?
Do you know what? I actually don't know, because I know at the moment I was reading that they are not offering Danny Welbeck a contract.
Yeah,
and that's going to be a massive miss for us as well, because Danny Welbeck is a squad player.
Actually, it's probably the right decision, if I'm being brutally honest with you.
What makes you, Colin, what makes you think it's a right decision then?
Well, listen, I'm not slating Danny Welbeck whatsoever, right? He's been decent this season, and the injury he got, listen, it was disappointing. It really was, because I felt that Danny Welbeck was someone that could step in when needed this season. The reason why I'm not giving him a new contract is simply because if we're looking to get to that next level, and by next level, I mean challenging for a title, because you have to imagine that's where Emery wants to take this football club, right? Danny Welbeck is never going to get you there. It's as simple as that.
That's a good point.
I'm not saying he's been bad, but when we're looking at it, how many times have we offered contracts to players off the back of sentiment?
But not just a contract, like, Colin, wages as well.
Exactly. I mean, those days are done. Those days are done, right? I don't have a problem with Danny Welbeck as a player. He's probably a nice person, but this ain't a charity no more. So that's why I wouldn't offer him one.
Yeah, guys, I'm just going to read the comments. One person has put up, which is my partner. She said, "I still believe that we was robbed last night." And another comment has come in and said that a draw was a good result.
Okay. No. Who wrote that?
A guy called Lucas.
Okay.
Keep it clean, Colin.
I'm gonna try. Okay. Firstly, I can understand where people are coming from in regards to, the Tottenham game would have taken a lot out of us. Okay, I get that. All right. However, a draw is not a good result, because when you go back and watch the game, right, 2-1 up, and we concede straight from kickoff. How is that a good result? I mean, if you look at that Man United team, right, and listen, I've got family members who are United fans. I've got mates who are United fans, and they've said to me that they did not deserve the win at all, or the draw at all. They didn't. In fact, the only thing you could give Man United credit for last night is that they tried harder than usual. That's all you could give them credit for. Aside from that, right, a draw against this United side, right, I could take losing to them last year because we were shite last season, right? But I can't take a draw as a good result when in reality it's not. I mean, for fuck's sake, they drew with Southampton on Saturday. And Southampton are dog shit. This United team is dog shit. Look, I like Pogba as a player. I do. But there's no way that anyone is convincing me that was a good result, especially when you consider the circumstances surrounding it.
Do you know what, Alex? Alex, I'm just going to ask you, what's your thought on that? Do you think it was a good result or not to get a draw?
I think it was a fair result, but we could have got more out of it if the linesman had been awake, if Marcos Rojas got sent off a red card, but
if Fellaini had gotten booked for pulling Guendouzi's hair.
Well, yeah, but woulda, coulda, shoulda doesn't win matches. So it is what it is. We still continue our unbeaten run. The players were out on their feet. So, 2 matches in 3 days again. We did well. We hadn't beaten Man U at Old Trafford since 2006.
Yeah.
And again, remember, this team we're in transition. We've got a new manager. He's still trying to figure out, who are his best players, which players he's going to keep, the players he's going to sell. So take, the sum of the total of that. It's a fair result. It's not the result that I wanted. It's not the result that the fan base wanted, but it is what it is. It's not a good result, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
That's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing, Alex, right? If the person who left that comment and said fair result, I would have agreed with him 100%, right? But good result, that's stretching it. That's stretching it. That's clutching at straws, man. Come on.
But guys, I just want to get a touch on this. Do you not think in the last 5-10 minutes that we was actually playing out to keep a draw?
No. If you watch the second half, we were all over them. Like Man United barely created anything in that second half. That midfield for Man United was dead, man. Dead.
I mean, they brought on Pogba and they took off Lingard. So, to me, Pogba slowed the game down and that played into our hands. But to say that we were playing for a draw, I don't think so.
I was just saying in the last 5-10 minutes, do you think that we was playing for a draw? Because I don't think we was 100%. I think we was going for the win.
No, we were going for it, man.
Yeah,
we were going for it. Like there was times where we were getting down the wing, and Man United were like, "Oh shit, we need to stop this right fucking now." Like that's one of the things about Arsenal this season that I do give the team and the manager credit for, because what Emery's done, he's introduced a new sense of belief and a steely resolve into this team that we didn't have last season.
But Colin, do you think Mkhitaryan has bought into that philosophy?
No,
because
no,
I think Unai Emery needs to drop Mkhitaryan because I think he's
I'm with you, bro. I'm with you, man.
He had a chance to score a goal, but I think I've spoken to Richard before about this. I think he's trying too hard and he's not on form, and I think he's crying out to be dropped. Give him some respite, drop him until he can get the confidence back, because he should have scored a goal last night. But
Alex, if we're being brutally honest, right, he's not had a good game since his debut against Everton. Yeah. Like, if we're being honest with ourselves, like this same when we signed him, I was in two minds about it, right? And I was just like, you know what, this could go one of two ways. Either we get the Mickey from Dortmund or we get the Mickey from Man United. From the looks of it, we've got the Mickey from Man United. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I'd drop him as well, but I wouldn't put Iwobi in his place, because I also feel like Iwobi's performances have dipped, and that was bound to happen. That was bound to happen. Like, he's still a young kid, and it might be harsh, but I'd actually drop Iwobi from the side, because what Iwobi is trying to do, and I've noticed this, especially last few games, and this includes last night, he's trying a little too hard. He's trying to force, he's trying to force it in the sense of bursting down the wing, whereas before it came natural to him. He was beating people. He looked like a completely different player to last season, and I think that's just down to overexposure in the first team more than anything else. I don't think that's anything to do with what Iwobi's doing wrong. And if I'm being honest, I think people on social media need to cut the kid a little slack. Like, all I see in my timeline these days is Iwobi hate. And I'm like, there's no need for that, like, at all. Like, yes, his performances have dipped, but do you really need to go in on him like that? Like, no. All it is Iwobi's just a victim of being exposed to the first team a little bit too much. And I think that's something Emery will look at. You'll drop him. I think Mickey will be dropped as well. If anything, I'm thinking that Aaron Ramsey might be brought into that right-hand side to sort of provide defensive cover for Hector Bellerin. And to be honest, that's done okay. I mean, Ramsey's not blessed with pace. We know that. And I know he's leaving at the end of the season, but with the injuries we've got, we kind of have to utilize the squad that we have. So that's my view on that.
Yeah. Okay, guys, another comment has come in, and my partner just put, we should have won last night. And by the way, Colin, I think you're funny. All right, guys, enough with the review now. We're going to move into the players' ratings. So first, I am going to start off with Bernd Leno. Alex, what would you give Bernd Leno?
I would give him a 7. I would give him a 7. I know we've spoken a lot about his goalkeeping of late. Maybe I wouldn't blame him for the first goal, because for me, I thought we had enough players in the area to see off the danger. And for the second goal, do I blame him? Maybe. He should have been a little bit more confident and just hoofed the ball away or cleared the players out. But I'll give him a 7. I'll give him a 7.
That's cool. Colin, I'm going to come to you. What would you give Leno?
Bear in mind,
spoken about him.
Before anyone even tries to kind of like crucify me for this, understand my bar for goalkeepers is very high, and that's how I'm judging him, all right? But I would give him a 6. I don't think he did too bad. Yes, he made a couple of errors, and yes, he should be more alert for the second goal. But do I blame him for Man United's first goal? No, because the defense should be more aware of the situation there. That's more to do with, the back three not tracking Martial. So I don't blame him for that. So 6 for me. Okay,
that's cool. James, Bernd Leno, what would you give him?
I agree with Colin. I give him a 6. I think, as I say, I think maybe it was going away to Old Trafford, coming so far from his Leverkusen days. But, he's got to be more commanding. He's got to bark at his defence more. He's got to come out of his shell a little bit more. And I know I keep going back to it, but you can't underestimate it. If he's struggling to communicate with specific players, then you've got to nip that in the bud. And you've got to nip it in the bud very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Alex, I'm going to come to you for the next player, and that is Rob Holding. What would you give him for yesterday's game, even though he got stretchered off?
Yeah, I'll give him a 6. He's another player who I think maybe Emery's probably playing him a little bit too much, especially in the Wolves game, where we know in a foot race, he doesn't have the speed in his legs. But I think maybe Holding's another player where there's certain matches where we cannot play him. But I'll give him a 6.
That's cool. I did read that apparently that Holding is not going to be coming back not until next season. Yeah. Apparently he's going to be out for the rest of the season now. Yeah. Colin, what would you give Holding for yesterday's game?
I'm with Alex. 6. And Holding's suffering from the same thing that Alex Iwobi is.
Yeah.
Too much exposure in the first team squad. It is what it is.
Okay, that's a fair offer. James, what would you have gave Holding for last night's game?
I'd give him a 6, but I would also make it quite clear I think he's been our best defender this season.
I agree with that.
Oh,
yeah, I agree with that as well.
Really? What about Socrates?
No, the thing is, right, Alex, right? Here's the thing. Socrates is an experienced centre-half, right? So you would see more commanding from Socrates than you would Holding, right?
Gotcha.
That's why I think Holding has been our best defender this season, because you don't expect that from a young player, whereas you do from a more experienced player, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, gotcha.
Do you know what, guys? I actually do think that our best pairing this season has been Socrates and Holding.
Yeah, it's looked the most robust.
Yeah.
And Alex, it's just my personal opinion. My jury is out on Socrates. to pay £15 million for him. Again, it's a big old world out there, and I think going forward, especially with Unai Emery, I think going forward with him identifying transfer targets, I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised. I don't necessarily think they're all going to be players we've all heard of, but it's going to be very, very interesting because, we need that kind of freshness. You get people now watching clips on YouTube saying, "Oh, he's a brilliant player," but they've never seen him play live. They haven't seen him. They haven't watched him play when he hasn't got the ball, and things like this. And my jury personally is still out on Socrates. And I think Unai Emery is giving the players all the benefit of the doubt and assessing his squad, and I think he'll give the entire squad the whole season to assess them. And I think we'll see more activity in the summer.
Yeah, but I think I'm going to upset someone right now because I think given a choice between Mustafi and Socrates, I will take Socrates all day long because for me, Mustafi, well, you've seen the proof is in the pudding. But listen, all the players are prone to making errors and mistakes, but with Mustafi, he makes critical errors in critical positions on the pitch. So with him, you don't know what you're going to get from him. It's the unknown. So for me, between the two players, sorry, Colin, I would stick with Socrates.
Do you know, Alex? I'll tell you why Mustafi gets off with it, right?
Yeah.
The reason why he gets off with it is because he gives everything for the badge, the same way Jack Wilshere used to do. That's why he gets off with it. Now, I'm a big defender of Mustafi. Everyone knows this. I do like the guy, but the thing is, right? I've known for a long time, and look, this is even when he was at Sampdoria. He had lapses in his game. He would slide in a little too much. And to be honest, last season, I thought he was better at Sampdoria than he was at Arsenal. And I've been a guy that's watched him for a long time, and I've known that he's prone to a lapse in concentration, but as he's gone on, he has improved, and he's done better this season.
He has
done better this season, but he still has those lapses in his game. That's the only thing I'm going to say on that.
Okay, guys, as we're actually on Socrates, I just want to say that is the next player that we're going to give the rating for.
Whose turn was it?
Start off with you, Alex.
Again, I would give him. I'll give him a 7. I'll give him a 7. He's steadfast. He gives the defense that durability that we've been lacking. But as James says, the communication with the back 3 or back 4 is not great. It's not great. But yeah, I'll give him a 7.
As Alex mentioned just now, you're saying that he was quick. Did you know Socrates is the second fastest player in the Arsenal squad?
Is it second or third? Because I thought
he's a second because I think Bellerin is the fastest, and then if I'm not mistaken, I think it's either Torreira or Socrates that is second or third.
Oh.
But I think they said that Socrates was the second fastest.
That's fast.
And then Aubameyang is the third fastest.
I'm surprised at that because he's rapid, man.
Yeah, I know. Colin, just going to come to you. Socrates rating.
I can't give him more than a 6. I can't. And the reason why, right, is it's nothing to do with, how he's done, how he did last night. It's actually a case of lack of, communicating, because there's been times when I've watched him and I'm just like, you should have seen that danger quicker. And the thing is, right, centre-backs aren't looked upon as highly as they were, but to me, who loves seeing defenders have great games, I have to judge every defender like I would. And the thing is, right, with Socrates, I do see little. To be honest, I'm not entirely convinced on him yet. Right? Was it a good signing? Yes. Uninspiring, but one we needed to make. However, can't give him more than a 6. Can't.
That's fair. James, what would you give Socrates for the game last night?
As I say, my jury on him is very still much out, and very much still out. Sorry, and yeah, for me, when he misjudged that 50-50 and Man United carried on to attack, and then the winger's coming up from the inside, and he's automatically got his hand up, trying to get himself out of a hole. I wasn't too enamoured by that, and it doesn't really look light on his feet. And for me, I couldn't give him no more than a 6 last night, to be honest.
That's a fair offer. Okay, the next player that is in there is Mustafi. Alex.
I'll give him a 7. I'll give him a 7.
Okay, that's a fair point. Guys, I do apologise that the video's gone over 30 minutes. I do absolutely apologise.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Okay, Colin, what would you have gave Mustafi for last night?
7, because he got the goal.
And that's the only reason, Cole.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, that's listen, right? All the centre backs, right, for me, deserve no higher than a 6.
Yeah.
Right? The only reason Mustafi is one up higher is because he scored.
Yeah.
Like, out of all the centre backs, uninspiring performance from every single one of them. And I include Lichtsteiner in that.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So, and I'm one that rates Lichtsteiner, but I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, he had a good game. None of the centre backs had a good game. None of them.
That's cool. James?
Yeah, I'll go 7. Obviously, the goal, and he tries very, very hard, but I would love to know who sanctioned the 35 million payment.
I'll tell you who. I'll tell you who, James. Arsene Wenger did.
We all know that the transfer fees are in a different stratosphere, but if you want to be robust and you have a ceiling, if you like, as to what you're going to pay for a player, you can also retract and say, no, I'm not paying that for him. And yes, sometimes deals can be 50-50 and you're not entirely sure. But I mean, there's green shoots in Arsenal's under 21s and under 23s. And I can only hope going forward, I've said this on a couple of pods and in the run up to the season as well. We all know there was a lot of mistakes made in the recent past in terms of the duration of contracts and the wages. And you can only hope that Arsenal learn from that in the future. That's why I'm so intrigued going forward, because it seems every day that, everyone's saying, oh, we should buy him or we should buy that, buy him and buy him. But as someone who interviews professional players and managers on a regular basis, you also have to be aware that these people have lives to lead. They have families who have commitments. They have children at school. They have they're living lives in different countries. They can't necessarily up sticks and move because somebody saw him on YouTube and he looks a really good player. So and then you've got the other side of the coin where how many professional players are out of contract that are not playing, that are desperate for a loan move somewhere to gain experience to continue their career. That's the other side of the coin, really. I just think in certain cases there's far too much emphasis on buy without thinking of the consequences of professional players in general.
Didn't he have a stint at Everton, Mustafi?
He did. I believe he did.
Yeah.
I think that's a good shout there, Alex.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. We're going to move into Bellerin.
Bellerin, I'll give him a 6. I'll give him a 6. I didn't think he had the greatest of impact play on the match last night. A 6. Give him a 6.
Okay, that's cool. Colin, Bellerin.
6. I've seen better from him. I really have. I mean, Bellerin's been better than last season, don't get me wrong, but last night, and I'm not exaggerating here, it was very close to Bellerin of last season where we get down the wing and pass it sideways. And I don't like that Bellerin.
Okay, cool. James, Bellerin.
I would give Bellerin a 6. I agree with Alex and Colin. I'll give him a 6. There are green shoots to his play. He has slightly improved, but I think there's still a way to go. And yes, he was very prominent in the derby, getting the fans pumped up with fist pumps and all these kind of things. But I think he's benefiting from someone speaking to him in his mother tongue. I'm not saying he didn't understand Arsene Wenger. I believe he did. But in the case of Unai Emery, he understands every single word Emery says to him. So I think there are the penny is dropping for him, but there is still a bit of a way to go.
And sorry, Richard, can I quickly say as well, James, you're right, because a lot of the time I could hear the coaching staff shouting to Bellerin in Spanish. Yeah. There's somebody behind you. I was thinking, well, yeah. But you're right. I think he's benefited from having people on the coaching staff on the sidelines shouting instructions. But then I'm thinking, what about the guys on the pitch? The communication again on the pitch.
That's what I was saying early tonight, Alex. You like for example, Colin. For example, Colin is a big fan of Italian football. Colin knows his Italian football. I'll give you an example. You go into a Juventus dressing room and you can't fit in and you can't communicate, you're out on your ear. If you don't make the effort to adjust, I mean, you look at Lichtsteiner. Lichtsteiner came from Lazio into that Juventus dressing room, and he became one of the most respected players in that dressing room and one of the leaders in that dressing room. Why? Because he was fully integrated. And it might sound trivial to some people, but really, these small details, they all add up. And I think it's really refreshing to hear the coaching staff shouting instructions, because when we get to the business end of tournaments and competitions, to get us over the line, that could be the difference between a place in the final or getting knocked out at a semi-final, for example.
Okay, guys, we're going to move into the next player of the starting 11, and that was Sead Kolesnik.
Yeah, I think as we spoke in the beginning, Colin was speaking about how Unai Emery knows how to manage his players, and I don't blame Kolasinac for that error, the second goal that they scored there. But it was a sturdy performance by him, and literally he was our main threat down the left hand side, the main threat. So I will give him a 7. I'll give Kolasinac a 7.
Cool, Colin.
I'll give him a 7. Like honestly, I've been open in the fact that I don't necessarily trust him defensively, and that's for a very good reason. But you can't deny that going forward, he's been one of our main assets this season with Nacho Monreal being out. And as a fan base, we're all going to have to big him up and, support him through the rough times. Because, look, Kolasinac will have a dip at some point. But the thing is, we have to all get behind the team. We can't be digging out players just because they've had one bad game. Because the way I see it, Kolasinac going forward has actually been all right. He was good against Tottenham. He had a decent game last night against Bournemouth. He certainly contributed. So he's stepping up, man. He's stepping up. 7.
Cool, James.
I would give him a 7. I think obviously he's trying to atone for his error. He was trying to take responsibility, and you can understand why he's done those things. I think the man management from Unai Emery has been absolutely fantastic. We also have to remember as well, this is early on in our new manager's reign, and Unai Emery is 2 matches away from equaling the record that George Graham had of 22 games unbeaten in the 86-87 season. And this is early on in his reign. So it's a fantastic positive thing. I think for him to say in front of the cameras as well that he came with his head down and I told him, no, you played a great match. That will give him heart, that will give him confidence. And the best is yet to come with this Arsenal side. To be in transition and to still be assessing players and to still be grinding out results in the situation we're in now is something very impressive indeed.
Cool. All right, guys, to speed through it, I'm going to give you a player each. So we're going to go with Lucas Torreira, and I'm going to go with Alex for this one.
Oh, yeah. My man of the match. It was all over the pitch. I mean, he had to be. I'll give him an 8.
Okay, that's a reasonable price. Okay, the next player is Guendouzi, and I'm going to go with James for this one.
I would give him a 7. He always looks very proactive. He doesn't seem to be phased by an away match or a home match or the opposition. And he's always got so much energy, to be so uninhibited at such a young age. It's really impressive. And I would give him a 7 in this instance.
Okay, cool. Aaron Ramsey, and that is Colin.
Oh, Ramsey. Ramsey.
Go on, Colin.
Listen, everyone knows that I'm not his biggest fan, all right? Everyone knows that. But with Mkhitaryan being absolute tripe the last few months, he stepped in and he didn't do half bad. Like, he didn't do that bad at all. I mean, he didn't, do anything that I would consider frustrating. He stepped in and he did well. That's all we can ask. So 7.
Okay, cool. Alex Iwobi, and I'm going to give this one to Alex.
Yes, before I give you my rating for Iwobi, I mean, who was the captain after Ramsey got pulled off? Who was the captain? Who was given the armband?
Mustafi.
Yeah.
Mustafi.
Oh boy.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so Alex Iwobi.
I'll give him a 6, just by the mere fact, we said before that I just think, again, he needs a break. He does need a break. His form is dipping, and I hope Emery can recognise it sooner rather than later. Let's not burn him out. But yeah, it's a 6.
Okay, cool. And last but not least, that is on the starting 11. That's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and because that's the last one, I'm going to ask all of you it. So, Colin, Aubameyang.
I mean, he contributed. I would say, do you know what? I'd say a 6. That shot he had the second half, he's got to score that. I know it's a great save by De Gea, but he's got to score that, man. 6.
Okay, 6. Okay, James?
I agree. I think a 6. I think he had chances. I don't know if he's a bit of a different beast away from home. At home, he looks a lot more comfortable in like a natural habitat. But yeah, he tested De Gea at times. But I would give him a 6 on this occasion.
Okay, Alex, Aubameyang.
Yeah, I agree with the guys. It has to be a 6. I just thought, that the midfield, I know the bloodline, he wasn't getting much service in the first half, but yeah, I expect a lot more from Aubameyang, but it's a 6.
Okay, that's cool. All right, guys, so we're not really going to get much into the substitute. So I'm just going to move on to the next subject, is your thoughts on the Huddersfield game, which is this Saturday. So I just want what you think we're going to do about it and your predicted score for that game.
Well, for me, I think they've lost their last 2 games and they've drawn 1. I can't see David Wagner's team beating Arsenal at the Emirates. I really can't. I know I did say at the beginning that there's no easy matches in the Premiership, but I really can't see anything beyond an Arsenal win. So for me, I'll go 3-1 Arsenal.
Colin, what's your thoughts on the Huddersfield game?
Huddersfield are a side that I was impressed with last season. This season, they are. Do you know what? I think the Premier League is catching up to them. I think it's proven to be tough for them, and their side doesn't really have any real threat that I can see from an objective standpoint. I'd be shocked if we didn't win the game, because at home we're always strong at home. I can't see anything but an Arsenal win. I'm with Alex on this one. 3-1, easy.
Cool. James, what's your thoughts on the Huddersfield game and your predicted score?
Well, for me personally, if the season would have gone on 2 more matches last season, Huddersfield wouldn't be a Premier League side. If it wasn't for their freak result at Stamford Bridge at the back end of last season, they would have been down. And I don't think they've got a lot to offer this time round. I think they'll go down. I think they've got individually some players that have their moments, but as a collective, I don't think there's really much to worry about in that respect. Although I do agree with Alex, there are no easy games. I was at the match last season when we played Huddersfield at home and we won 5-0. I don't think it's going to be 5-0 this time round, but I do think it's going to be 3-0.
Do you know what, guys? I'll give you my preview for that. Do you know what? Even though I'm doing my preview tomorrow for that game, but I think Huddersfield is going to score a goal against us. I know that for 100%, but I feel that if the lineup is right, think about it. We've got Holding that's now out injured, so that's going to be a massive miss at the back. And I think there might be another injury. I'm not sure, but so Emery's got to somehow work around it. But I think we're going to win it quite comfortably. So I'm going to say 3-0.
Good shout.
Do you know what, guys? A comment actually came in from Luca, who's he's on his way to 500 subscribers. So there's your shout out. He said we need to get a top 4 this season, and Arsenal need a top left back in January, because I do think that Nacho Monreal is leaving at the end of the season, and we need a centre back, a top one, and a winger. What do you reckon?
I think he's got some good points. I mean, I could give you names for all 3 positions. But in particular, the left back, we could have nipped that in the bud last summer when Arsenal put in what was deemed a derisory bid for Ben Chilwell. If they'd have put in a decent bid, as the story goes, under the Wenger era, he doesn't put in a bid of market conform. He'll put in a bid of what he thinks the player's worth to the detriment of the club. And of course, that's rejected. We could have had Ben Chilwell if we'd have played our cards right. And, going forward, I think that would have been a fantastic acquisition. I think those 3 positions are the 3 positions Arsenal are crying out for to be strengthened, but you've got to identify the right players. I mean, for me personally, I would go back in for Chilwell, but of course it's not going to be the 10, 15 million that you would have paid last time. It will be between 35 and 40. As a winger, I'd go for Thauvin from Marseille. I know people will say, he flopped at Newcastle, but just have a look at the way he's been playing since he's back at Marseille. He was instrumental in them getting to the Europa League final last season, and he's extremely, extremely accurate with his crossing, which will help with headed goals for Lacazette and Aubameyang. As a centre-half, what I'm about to say might be perceived as over-ambitious, but we got to aim high. As far as I'm aware, Diego Godin is out of contract at Atletico Madrid at the end of the season. Yes, he's 29 years old. Yeah, but just hear me out on this one, Alex. Yes, he's 29 years old, but the man has so much experience, which our back four does not have. If I was Emery, I'd say, right, I'll have Godin come in and let him marshal that defence. None of this, he's been with us for years, he'll come along. No, Godin is the one that will cajole that back line and marshal it, because that's what we need. But I admit it's very ambitious.
It's not ambitious, but again, I'm going to go back 1 or 2 steps insofar as how much money and how much say is Unai Emery going to have on the players that he wants to bring into Arsenal? Because we don't have a manager who dominates everything at Arsenal anymore. We have a coach. We have a coach. So, how much say is Unai Emery going to have to say about the players he wants to bring in?
Alex, I think he'll have a say, right? And I'll tell you why, yeah? Sven, Raul, and Emery, right? All of them are working in tangent with one another, right? The club wouldn't have signed Lichtsteiner if Emery wasn't on board with it, right? They wouldn't have signed Torreira if he wasn't on board with it. Emery is involved in the process. Now, is it a solo effort? No, but I prefer it if it's more an effort between these three individuals, if you get what I mean.
I do.
Because Raul has the knowledge of being a director of football from his time at Barcelona, which that's invaluable experience by itself. Like, you cannot understate how important that is. In fact, I honestly believe that was our biggest signing last year. Forget players and whatnot. That was the signing, right? You have Sven, who's one of the best scouts out there. You know, people raved about him from his time at Dortmund. I mean, this guy brought in the likes of Royce, Aubameyang, who's now here. You know, the list goes on and on, man. Dembele, who's now at Barcelona now. You know, this guy as a scout is very good. And that was another important signing we made. And Emery will be that guy that will give these two a list of players in said positions and be like, I want this, 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 and this. And they'll be like, okay, give that to us. We'll handle it. We'll go out there and get the players you need. If you like them, we'll get them. If you don't, we'll look somewhere else.
Right. So then my other point was, do we have the money to bring in those players that he's going to demand? We don't have the money.
This is why Sven was so important, right? He's been key in finding gems, right? And I'm going to point out one that's very recent. My guy, Lucas Torreira, right? How many big clubs were sniffing around Lucas Torreira, do you think? Just out of guess.
I think there might have been at least about seven or eight.
I'll probably say less than that.
Yeah, I think maybe 3 or 4.
Less than that, Richard.
Yeah.
Less than 7 or 8.
I'm surprised.
Here's how the only clubs, right, that were in form at the time, there was no Barcelona talk, there was no Real Madrid talk, there was no Bayern Munich talk. He's good enough to be at those 3 clubs, by the way. There was no talk about Man United. If you ask me, they could do with a Lucas Torreira type. But the only clubs that were interested in Lucas Torreira were Arsenal and Napoli.
Yeah, because I think his father was saying that he wished that his son had gone to Napoli. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Sven is going to have his work cut out because, again, the budget is quite tight.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if
we're not... That's key there, Alex, right? Because we're not a Man United. We're not a Man City.
Exactly.
We're not a Chelsea. We don't have a blank checkbook where we can go out and buy the best players out there. Now, my dream would be to get Gulam and Koulibaly. Do I think that's happening? Hell no.
No.
Hell no. Gulam is the perfect left back for us to sign. He's good going forward. He's solid defensively. He's everything we would want. Will we get him? No,
we won't.
Because Napoli, more than likely, are going to want, what, 50? 75 million probably? Are we going to spend that on Gulam? No. As far as Koulibaly goes, right, this guy was 35 million a few years ago. Now, he's one of the best centre-backs on the planet, right? If you want Koulibaly, you're talking in excess of 80 to 100 million. Are we paying that? No.
No, we're not.
So, dream dead. Dream dead. Now, as far as the players I would want, you already know, my 2 I would want would be Gulam and Koulibaly, but that ain't happening. So if we're looking at it purely from, well, sort of a cheap way, centre-backs, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but Colin, even forget about that narrative there where Emery has to improve the squad members there. He's going to have to offload some players first.
Yep, that's it.
Before he even thinks about buying players, he'll be told, all right, Emery, that's fine, but let's try and identify the players who A, don't fit in your philosophy, and B, to reduce the wage bill. So forget about
the thing.
Which players do you want to identify to offload? That has to be the narrative more than anything else.
Yeah, it does, Alex. You're right. You're right. You're 100% right. Because what most likely is going to happen, right? And I don't mean to take over the show, Richard, but, yeah, I really don't. But there will be a conversation at some point between now and the summer between Raul, Sven, and Emery, right? And that conversation will most likely involve what players Emery wants to get rid of, what players he wants to sign, and how much money is available to him. That's what's most likely going to happen. And Emery, during that conversation, will give Sven and Raul a list of players, and they'll be like, okay, we'll get rid of the players that you've deemed not good enough, and we'll go out and buy this, this, and this, and all you have to do is manage the team.
Yeah.
That's what will most likely happen.
And I just, sorry, Richard, again, not to wanting to dominate the conversation.
Alex, carry on, go on.
What about youth development? I mean, is it really necessary that we go out there and spend millions of pounds on players when we might have the solution closer to home?
Exactly.
All I hear, right, is people talking about, but if we sell Xhaka, who's going to be Torreira's partner? And I'm just like, bitch, Maitland-Niles, bruv.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This guy is so damn good, right? He can play the centre midfield and a fucking... Dude, the guy is amazing at left back, right? We're all talking about left backs, and look, my dream is Gulam, but we're all talking about left backs. We want one that's defensively sound. We want one that's good going forward. We've got one, Maitland-Niles.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If we spend 75 million on Gulam, right? All that does is stunt Maitland-Niles' development. That's all that does. Like, he's good enough to be in the first team. Not week in, week out, but he's good enough.
So then the thing is, Unai Emery, if he really wants to make a statement of intent, bring in the youth players. Blood them into the first team. Have them appear on the bench.
I've been funny, guys. I'd even stick Reece Nelson in with the way he's going right now.
Well, what about Smith Rowe? What about Smith Rowe?
Yeah.
Listen, for me, I can see the changing of the guard. What do I mean by that? Ramsey, we know he's leaving at the end of the season. For me, Smith Rowe would be the natural replacement. Give him some minutes. Let him have an appearance on the bench. Get him some experience because he's still unproven in the Premiership. The answer is right there, closer to home. We don't have to go further afield to spend millions on players. Give the youth players a chance. Yeah. Otherwise, somebody else will snap them up, and then maybe 5 years down the line, we'll say, oh, why didn't we keep this player? We had this player, but we let him go out. The answer is right there. It's closer to home.
Yeah, Alex, you're right there, because I'm reminded of what Man United did with Pogba when Sir Alex Ferguson was still there. You know, that rubbed me the wrong way for many reasons, right? One being that instead of, United blooding a young Paul Pogba, right, and bringing him into the first team and let him develop naturally, they choose to bring Paul Scholes out of retirement. And all that did was piss off Pogba. And he went to Juventus and became one of the most sought after players in world football after that. And I see Reece Nelson kind of being along that line. If we don't play Reece Nelson, right? And in fact, this is what I would do, right? Ramsey's leaving, yeah? I would seriously consider playing Reece Nelson in that wide right role. Seriously, I would. And when you talk about number 10s, Ozil appears to have a back spasm. How legit that is, I don't know. But you know, if he doesn't want to be here, that's cool. That's cool, man. Smith Rowe, man. You know what I mean? Like we've got talent.
I've even said to you about Smith Rowe that I would put him in the team.
Yeah, he was on the bench. I think he was on the bench away to Crystal Palace, and I think Alex makes a great point. You know, to see him. I mean, I was there when he made his debut in the Europa League against Vasco Portava. He didn't look out of place. I watched him against Sporting Lisbon at home as well. He didn't look out of place. He didn't look worried. Didn't look worried about the opposition facing. You know, he didn't look as if he was being overpowered by experienced Sporting Lisbon players. And our youth setup used to be tremendous. Used to be going back even to the early 90s. You know, Rocastle, Davis. You think of not just young players, but also young players from London that had an affinity with the club and wanted to play for the club as well. And you know, we've got an opportunity now to put that right. I think there's a defender, Ballard. I think from the under-23s. He's got like a history of making important goal line clearances and looking, you know, future captain material. Bring him in the summer. You know, we've got Nielsen on loan at Hoffenheim, who's getting a bit tutored by Nagelsmann, who's one of the most sought-after coaches in European football. So these are all green shoots for the future. But I think it's about finding a balance. We've got a manager who's ruthless, and above all, we've got a manager who's come to us to win. He's expecting to win. I don't expect Unai Emery to. You know, I said quite some time ago, I'm extremely confident that Unai Emery will win a trophy in his debut season at Arsenal. I'm not sure which one, but I'm extremely confident he will. But he hasn't come here to be running a meal. He hasn't come here just to pick up a paycheck and say, "Oh, well, look at me, I'm a Premier League manager." He wants success, most importantly, for Arsenal, and he also wants success for himself as well.
James, how long's he signed for Arsenal? Is it 2 years?
Yeah,
Emery?
For Unai Emery, yeah, it's only for 2 years.
I mentioned this on Richard's previous pod. Arsenal needs to start breaking open that contract and extending it. Because, you know, a week is a long time in football, as we all know. But, you know, to be 20 games unbeaten in such an early reign of a new manager, it's almost unheard of. It's almost unheard of. And the longer the run goes on, you know, it's going to gain more and more notoriety. But Colin made a fantastic point earlier on in this pod tonight, where when the run does come to an end, you would hope that people do not get beside themselves and do not overreact. But unfortunately, with the way that Twitter is and social media and people wanting attention and wanting to have clickbait and wanting to be talked about, you know, when the run does eventually come to an end, we are going to have a situation like that, unfortunately.
Okay. All right, guys. It's competition between you. The question is tonight. I'll give you a minute to think about it. How many major trophies did Arsenal win under George Graham? And I want the exact year when we won them.
The exact year when we won them?
Yes, the exact year when we won them as well.
Okay, I know which one I'm going to say first. I think everybody else knows which one I'm going to say first.
I've got mine in the bag already.
I'll give you a minute to think. I did say this would be a bit of a toughie, this one.
No. All right. The League 1989.
Do we have to give our answer and then name the years?
Okay, I'll give you. All right, I'll give you how many I'll give you the ones we've won. We've won 2 league cups.
Yeah.
2 league titles, 1 FA Cup, and 1 Cup Winners' Cup. The total of trophies is 6.
All right, I thought it was 5.
It was 6, but I want the exact years we won them. I'll go through them again. It's 2 league titles, 2 league cups, 1 FA Cup, and 1 Cup Winners' Cup.
Can I go first?
James, fire away, mate. You can go first.
1987. 1989, 1991, 1993, 1993, and 1994.
Okay, Colin?
Oh my God, you got
Yeah, I'm beyond this one.
All right, 1989.
92, 93.
Do you know what? I'm struggling with that. Fuck.
Can I either go whilst Collins is thinking?
Yeah, Alex, go ahead, mate.
I'm going to go 87, 89, 91, 93, and 94. I think I've yeah. Yeah.
Colin, have you thought of them yet?
Do you know what, man? I'm actually struggling here. Like, I mean, okay,
Come on, Colin, save the day, mate. Come on.
Okay. 89, 94, I believe. I think. We won something in 91. But after that, mate, I'm drawing a blank.
I can tell you guys that Alex and James have got them all right.
Oh, wow.
Especially James, he got them spot on.
Damn.
Colin, you actually got most of them right as well. Lads, do you want me to go through it?
Yeah.
Okay, the 2 league titles was in 1989 and 1991.
Yeah.
The 2 league cups was in 1987 and 1993.
Yes.
The one and only FA Cup that he won was in 1993 also. And the Cup Winners' Cup was in 1994.
Yes. Yes.
Damn.
So well done to James and Alex for getting them all right.
God, dearie me.
Colin, you actually got most of them right as well, mate.
Right, so Richard.
When you consider I wasn't even alive for half of them.
Yeah, no, you did,
Neither was I.
very well.
I was actually born in 94, so most of those I didn't even know.
Do you know what? I guess 91 because that was the year I was born.
Oh, Jesus.
So Richard,
all right.
you know,
Yes, sorry.
Richard, you know you're talking about the points. I don't want the points. I want a prize.
Points
All
win
right,
prizes, to say.
All right, well, I'll have to come up with something.
How about the knowledge that you got them right, Alex? How's that for you?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Guys, thank you for joining me on this podcast tonight.
Yeah,
As I said, I do apologise. It's gone over 30 minutes.
Yes.
But I hope you guys definitely enjoyed the podcast show tonight.
Certainly did.
Yeah, it's been really good.
Look forward to next
So,
time.
guys, for the viewers that are watching, make sure you go and hook him up. James, go and hook him up on Twitter. Colin, go and subscribe to his YouTube channel, which is Much Arsenal, and
Which
his
is
YouTube
dead,
channel
by the
channel
way.
as well. What was that, Colin?
It's dead, by the way. I'm not doing it anymore.
Hey, listen,
my God.
can I just say, you know what? Can I just say quickly, Colin, it's good to see you back. I know you're not doing any more, previews and what have you, but it's good to see you back on this podcast, man.
Do you know what, mate,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Here's the thing, right? I've gotten loads of, tweets, DMs of people asking me, "Oh, why are you not doing Much Arsenal anymore?" And I'm just like, listen, I don't feel the need. I don't feel like I have to explain myself.
Yeah.
Because I'll do what I want to do. But listen, that wasn't an easy choice to make. It really wasn't. Like, it's just a case of me working full time now. I don't have the time anymore. Weekends are the only time that I've got to chill, and I've got other stuff that I want to do. So, and to be honest, to be fair, I'm enjoying watching the games more, as a fan more than anything else, than without the stress of having to do previews and reviews every week. I mean, Richard holds the fort pretty well, as well does Chegg, Lee, and Tom and all of that. So there's enough podcasts in the world of YouTube for people to have fun with.
But it's good to see you back, Cole. It's good to see you back, man.
Yeah,
listen, I'll still go on pods and shit like that. If people want to know my opinion that badly, that's fine. Just follow my Twitter. I'll tell you what I think on there. I'll be the same old me on there. I'll still cuss every now and then. No worries, bruv.
All right, so guys, you can go and hook him up on his Twitter account, and also you can also go and subscribe to Cannon Fodder TV, and also his Twitter account. Once this video is done, I'll put it all into the description, so you can all go and do it. I'd just like to say a massive thank you to my guests tonight, and just as just see how far we go. But I am going to say one thing, as you lot said about us losing one game. I don't think that the fans are going to worry too much. It's all about the fact is, how are we going to bounce back from that, from that one defeat?
Mate,
be interesting. But
our fan base is overreactionary as fuck, man. They're gonna go mental.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Most of the Arsenal fans are going to go mental.
They did it against Chelsea. And by the way, actually, after that loss to Chelsea, right? I simply said we could easily be on 24 points after that loss, yeah?
Yeah.
After that loss, we ended up on 22 points. Did anyone see that? Did anyone think that would be possible after Chelsea? No, but I did. Because I know this team. I know this team has ability in it. And we've got far too much talent to not go on a run like that. And if people want to jump on the fact that, we've lost one game. Listen, we lose games every now and then. You know what I mean? We're not going to win every game. Man City will lose this season. Liverpool will lose this season. Will their fans go to meltdown? Hell no. So take it into context.
Yeah, Colin, before we wrap up there, Richard, Colin, you've hit the nail on the head. Our fan base is as fickle as hell. Yeah. One loss, Twitter will go into a meltdown. That's just the way it is. We're made up of all different types of personalities and characteristics. But unfortunately, our fan base is as fickle as hell. So when that defeat does come, I'm going to run for the hills, man.
This is a question for you, Alex, because we're a little bit older. We never used to be like that, did we?
No, but unfortunately,
we never used to be like. I mean, I've just turned 35, but I've been supporting the club for 30 years. We never used to be like that. Every single time, especially in the early 90s and things, when we would win it, we'd all celebrate together. When we would lose, sometimes you hold your hands up. I suppose it's just a sign of the times, really.
It is. Well, I've been supporting Arsenal since 1978, so best part of 40 years, and there's seen lots of up and down, but unfortunately, it's just the way things are. It is of the time. Social media, it's quite easy to open up an account, give your opinion, criticize the team. It's just so easy these days. But like I said before, once that defeat does come, because it will come, Twitter, all the social media sites will go into meltdown. But just keep your heads down, guy. Continue supporting Arsenal and onwards and upwards, man.
Yep. Yeah. And if anyone shows stupidity, just know the block button is your friend. Just know that.
Yeah. All right, guys. So as I said, you can follow Cannon Fodder and go and subscribe to his YouTube channel, and also follow him on his Twitter as well. Guys, this has been the podcast for tonight. As I said, big thank you to my guest for tonight. I just hope you really enjoyed coming on here. We will be doing it more often, obviously, when the times obviously suit you. And then we can work around it and I'll just let everybody else know. So, guys, you've been watching Arsenal TV, and this has been the Gooner Podcast Show. Until next time, we are out of here.